Hey, beautiful people, welcome back to another weekly Daily Wednesdays where we like to sit back, relax, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I'm Vince Stone, joined every week by Jill Bryant. We're just chatting about all types of things in the pre-show. It's hard to cover them all. Movie careers, late night TV shows. Jill, you brought that to my attention. The Linus, not this Linus, the other Linus that the internet knows about was on late night talk show.
Yeah,
how did
Tonight
that
Show.
go? What did he do?
Jimmy Fallon. Oh, it was a lot of fun. He brought some gear from CES that wasn't released yet, that the companies were demoing at CES, and it went very well. Like the laptop that has that roll up screen.
Oh, right, that OLED
bigger.
roll up one.
Yeah,
that was kind of neat. I've seen that. Did they do it? Did it roll up? Yeah, it did, right?
Yeah, it rolls up. Yeah. It's really cool.
It just kind of grows from the top. When I saw that laptop, my first thought is like, people are going to try to close that with it extended. And it's going to get smashed because
it's going to get, Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking that myself.
So
it probably should have an automatic
roll
back in when you close the lid.
Okay, so that's what I'm thinking. Does it like lock in place, like after a certain point when it's extended?
Yeah.
As like a reminder, like if you're getting ready to close it, it like rolls the window down,
Yeah.
It doesn't smash your fingers together. Now, I hear that you have new things that rhyme with a penguin.
Yeah. So I have 2 new cute plush penguins I got for Christmas to add to my wonderful penguin army shown here in my studio on LWDW to my right. And this cute little penguin is actually from my brother, Jack, and my soon-to-be sister-in-law, Maria. So I love this cute little penguin. And it's one of the Thai beanie babies, but it was one I didn't have. There's like 10 variations of penguins, and I didn't have this one. So I'm really happy to have this one. And then I got another bigger penguin from my close friend, Tyson, who helps me and Steve set up our Linux Chicks LA booth at the Southern California Linux Expo each year. So, and he even asked me, he called me, he goes, "Jill, what do you want for Christmas?" And I said, "Well, you could get me another plush penguin for my collection." And he did. And it's so cute. I love both of these. They're adorbs.
Oh, man. Those are definitely plushy penguins. Now you need to put them on the floor and let them fight.
Yeah, let them fight with the others.
Let them fight it out, man. Let's see who's going to assert dominance and take over the penguin pile. I'm being dead serious. Come on, dude.
Yeah, no. Well, this penguin is the biggest one, so it has more of a fighting chance because I have some pretty big penguins over here.
I'm over here fighting with the digital audio workstation because some days it's like, "Hey, man, you know that thing you told me to do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I told you to do it." And he's like, "I'm not feeling it." I'm like, "Come on."
Oh, no.
So I got a couple.
Cranky.
It is, but it's not being cranky in one of those, when technology, especially software, it's not just saying no. It's stuck in a maybe mode. It's like, I'll work a little bit, just not completely. And I'm like, well, now I have to futz with you.
Shades of gray with technology.
It's one of those things. Now, I got something too. I got this little box, along with a couple of other boxes from Orange Pi. They reached out. They saw some things I was doing on Interfacing Linux and sent me the email of like, "Hey, we'd like to work with you. Would you be interested in taking a look at our latest product," which I believe is the Orange Pi A4. And I Googled it and I went, "No, not really." However, I would like to take a look at what's inside this case.
Ooh.
Which is the Orange Pi Pro. Now,
the Pro, nice.
It's got 3 HDMI ports on the back because one of them is an input. It's got 2 output, 1 input. That means it's got an HDMI encoder built into it. And it's got 2 Ethernoodle holes. Both of those are 2.5 gig, which is pretty neat. And it's got an NVMe slot on the front. There's not much to it. Just a couple of USB 3s. But the main reason I wanted this is, if you keep track, it's powered by the Rockchip 3588 and Collabra. The beautiful miscreants behind NVK and some of the open source NVIDIA stuff that's getting worked on. They're also working on upstreaming support to this to the Linux kernel, adding like the Panfrost drivers. They gave a little talk at the Xorg developer conference a couple of months ago, and I wanted one of these chips. So it was kind of fun to write Orange Pi back and go, that $40 board you wanted me to take a look at? How about you just send me a $200 board for me to take a look at? And I expected them to go, get away. And they went, sure, whatever. I'm like, okay. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I might not even make a video about it. I just wanted the Rockchip. And I'm like, okay. So there it is. I've spent the past 2 days, it seems like, maybe 3 days, finding some things out. This will probably get its own video simply because it is in desperate need of a quick start guide, like I did for that Banana Pi.
Mm-hmm.
I got so frustrated finding all the information. This is something we're going to talk about. The new Raspberry Pi, by the way. This has got 16 gigajoules of memory RAM in it too.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and it's faster than a Raspberry Pi, but it's that Rockchip. Maybe I'll explain more about that later in the show. And it's going to be interesting, but I need to get all that information, if just for my own sanity, to know that somebody's compiled it. Because when you get something like this, it is so important, the amount of time from opening the box to being able to do something with it. And that is a big, long, multiple search forum digging contest just to do simple things like, how do I copy the operating system onto the NVMe? Good luck. Good luck. And it's even more frustrating when you find, when you have to go on these long searches for something and you find it's just one command. You're like, Why is that not written somewhere? Why is it not on the on the wall in the great tomb of single board computers? That should be line 3. But it wasn't. So, sticking with the topic of CES.
Yes.
I don't see Alan here, unfortunately.
No.
Alan in our Discord and in our community is known as the safety wizard, and there's a wonderful picture of him.
Yes.
One might say passed out with a traffic cone on his head.
It's from our dead dog party, the Linux Chicks LA dead dog party after Scale ends.
Yeah.
And it's we've got lots of good shots of him falling asleep with the hat on, the VLC hat on. It's adorable.
Well, VLC showed up at CES this year, and I thought it was really neat. They bought a booth just because they wanted to. They didn't have anything to sell. They weren't plugging anything, just showing up to say hi. And one thing they did have playing in the background, though, just kind of here's a cool thing we're working on, is AI related. Now, I don't want you to get upset. Calm down, because I feel I'm as burnt out on AI as you are, probably. Everything's got AI in it these days. But I want to always shine a light on when people are using it for good. And I think they are. I genuinely think they are. Because in this demo, well, okay, let's back it up. When I say SRT, let me know if you're watching, maybe in the comments. SRT. Does everybody know what an SRT file is?
Mm-hmm.
Have you had to look for an SRT file?
I have in years past, yes.
100%. I'm not going to pretend that I, too, have not been on some weird, sketchy website trying to find an SRT file, only to find the wrong one, and it didn't match up with what I'm trying to watch. Why would it match up? That's because it's a subtitle file. Very well known for, a video that you may have acquired in the past that might have been in a foreign language. Didn't have subtitles. Well, that's how you would get subtitles. It's always bugged me. I haven't ran into that forever. I'm old. I'm lazy. I just pay for streaming services these days, and they have the built-in subtitles. And, a lot of container formats will have subtitles, Matroska will have them built in and things like that. It's not so much of a thing anymore than like back in the olden times when the only way to get a hold to, like, say, a Japanese TV show that may or may not have been animated was not distributed outside of Japan. That was the only way to get it. And there you have to find a fan subtitle for it. This is the dark days, but
it sure is.
they have, playing in the background, a little demo showing off. Let me see if I can pull this up, of using AI to do subtitles for movies, TV shows, basically anything you throw at it in real time. So, yeah. By the way, it also does translation. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Now, more importantly, and I think this is a really important bit, locally on your machine, not in the cloud. You don't have to worry about, security, privacy, or anything like that. Unfortunately, they didn't have any information on when it was going to be available. But that's a good use, because I think a lot of us, maybe last year, or it might have been the year before that, whenever Whisper kind of started rolling out. You're familiar with Whisper, aren't you, Jill?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it could do the, dictation, pull out the text.
Videos.
And
yeah.
And even DaVinci Resolved rolled out like their own local model for just auto-generating subtitles and, text from video, which is good for like searching around. This is great. This is great because I always have subtitles on. I don't know when this happened to me.
You got older.
I don't read them. It is a habit. If I'm watching something, I cut on the subtitles. I don't know when that happened, but I like that it's there.
Yeah.
I do. And if you can auto-generate them, you don't have to worry about them. You don't have to visit like sketchy websites to try to find them in case you need them. And, I would like to be able to, being able to do it in real time, I think is real important. Even if it can't, maybe it'll have an option to do like a better job if you let it like run through the video once or twice, because it's just going to extract the audio, do that, and generate the subtitles, I would assume. So this is just a great thing. What do we think about this? Do you use subtitles?
I actually do. I always have to increase the font size, but you can do that now, which is awesome. You used to not be able to, and it was hard for me to read them. But now you can do that on YouTube and all the things. So I love that this uses local open source AI models and doesn't require internet service to function. Way to go to keep privacy going, VLC. And it supports 100 languages and can translate and display 2 languages at once. So that's what makes this one unique. I haven't seen one that can do that yet. So this is really cool. They're ahead of the game on that.
Also, whoever's doing their social media account, boy, they're spicy. They're spicy. If you go read through this thread, it'll be linked in the show notes. They're just like clapping back at some of the naysayers pretty hard. And yeah, good uses of AI. And I like seeing stuff like that. And from VLC, which is always good because, man, most of us have been using VLC for over 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, it would be nice if it could translate subtitles into Erkin. There's your deep cut.
Or as Altimore Prime in chat says, Klingonese. How about some Klingon?
Klingon. They should be able to do Klingon. Like anything that's on the list of my hovercraft is full of eels should be there for translation. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I'm still waiting on that UI update that I've been promised forever, but I'm patiently waiting. Long as I get my Santa hat. You know what? I missed it this year. I never opened VLC and got the traffic cone with the Santa hat this year. I looked for it once or twice, but it never popped up. Do you typically use VLC these days? I know I use MPV.
Yeah, I
or
mostly
MPlayer?
use MPV or Classic M Player.
Yeah.
But I do use VLC a lot to re-encode videos and whatnot. So
Mm.
it's great for that.
Yeah, it does a lot these
Mhm.
days. You can keep track of your podcast. You can stream from it. Not stream. I mean, you can get streaming media from it, and kind of like the same way with like Amarok, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I typically just use like the MPlayer or whatever, like just lightweight shell, just to play the video real quick for what I'm using in here. So let me know in the comments. What do we got up next?
Oh boy, then
pretty name support.
Yeah,
that sounds like something.
We have a new version of Fastfetch.
Are you saying we had ugly name support?
No, they were just big, chunky ASCII art. It wasn't as clean and as many characters. Right. So many of us in the Linux community, love to show off pretty screenshots of our system specs and what distro we are running in the Linux terminal. And one way to accomplish this is to use neofetch in the terminal. But unfortunately, neofetch is no longer supported. But Fastfetch, which we have talked about before here on LWDW, is a neofetch-like tool written mostly in C. And there's a new version. Fastfetch 2.34 has just been released, and it has a lot of really cool new features. With this release, Fastfetch can now print distro pretty names as long as it is available in the systems, etc. OS release folder. And this functionality is actually still a work in progress and could break on certain distros. But when it works, you get a cleaner version of ASCII art of your distro's logo, like what Ven is showing of Arch. Much cleaner. Before the ASCII art characters were much bigger and chunkier.
Now we have to judge. We got to look like, oh yes, let me judge what your computer specs are.
Yeah, yes. And then it can also detect window manager versions in its printout, but that is also still a work in progress. And currently we'll only detect the WM versions of Sway and Hyperland, but many more are on the way. And it adds thermal zone temperature reporting if CPU temperature data is unavailable, so you don't get a blank area on the screen. And also, Fastfetch now adds sound server detection for Pipewire and Pulse Audio. Hey, the more specs, the better. And Fastfetch is, as it has been since it started, is packaged for many Linux distros, including a .deb for Debian and Ubuntu, and RPM for Fedora, and Arch and Gentoo, etc., etc. So it's easily available in your local repros. So I was really happy that they have really cleaned this up, because I remember that was one of the biggest user complaints, was that the logos were not very pretty. They were big and chunky.
I always imagine, like, when I'm looking at this and, as you were talking, I was silently judging. And I see Linux in a VM, QEMU, and I'm like, what you really running over there at Linux IAC, homie?
Yeah.
What you running? Now, for no good reason, really, but I'm sauce.
Yeah.
I'm like, why you got this in a VM, man? What's going on?
Yeah.
But
why isn't it native?
Right. I don't. Oh man, that pet peeve of mine, and I think completely justified, is when I see people reviewing a Linux distribution using a virtual machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't reflect how it's going to work on actual hardware. But I could be an outlier. But yeah, no more neofetch. Neofetch used to be the thing. I mean, it's still around. It's just not maintained. And, that happens in our Discord. Every now and then somebody will post a neofetch, and I would have to go install it in like whatever machine I was on, because I don't typically,
show it off.
Yeah, I'd be like, is that installed? Is it installed? Do I have neofetch installed right now? I do.
Oh, good, Ven.
I do, which means I forgot to uninstall it since last time.
I haven't reinstalled it since I upgraded this machine, but it is on a couple of my other computers.
Oh man, Yeah, it's for me, the use case for that is just to post it in Discord. Like but having the information there, I mean, it makes sense to have an easy command to like let you know, especially like for new users.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And now it's more pretty.
Yeah, much more pretty.
Up next, we got to talk about something that absolutely came out of left field, everybody. It did. I read this.
It's really cool.
What's going on? I got to go check the source on this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe. I want to believe, but I'm not sure I do. And I also want to thank Arthur, and popped it off in our show suggestions. And I think Dak had a comment about like something that was adjacent to this. But what we're talking about is Linus Torvalds. You'd know him. You know, he was just on that late night show, right?
A different Linus. Not as... Okay. This Linus is squeaky, but not as high pitched.
Okay. All right. A less squeaky version.
Yeah.
Linus Torvalds offers to build guitar effects pedals for kernel developers. I saw this on the register and I'm like, this has got to be some spin, right? It's got to be some hype, you know, something's out of context. Somebody read this wrong. But you head over to the mailing list. And you're like, all right, where's this? One final note for the holidays and a check to see if anybody actually reads these weekly release candidate announcements of mine. Yeah, he straight up did. He's like it turns out like Linus likes to build Legos around the holidays. He does. He's like, it's like a little tradition. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But he's picked up a new hobby. This year, he's decided to build guitar effects pedals. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Linus admits he doesn't shred his mighty axe. He doesn't even play guitar. But it's just like one of those things. He wanted to, you know, enjoys doing something with your hands. And if you spend a lot of time in an office setting working on PCs and stuff like that, yeah, you want to like make something. You want to grab a soldering iron and stick it to something. So he says this: if you have a kernel commit from 2024 and you would like Linux, yes, old Linux himself, you know, technically that's correct. I think it's socially acceptable to call Linus Linux.
Yeah.
Everybody's, Linux tech tips.
Yeah.
He will make you a stop box. Like, this is a traditional, like, old boss or like a DOD or something like that. But he's found a company that makes pedal kits. These are the two I found. I was going to grab like one of my big digital effects pedals and bring it in here, but I was like start looking around and I have a glass desk and monitors everywhere. And I'm like, no, we don't want to be waving that around.
Heavy.
If you send them an email with, in all caps in the subject line, I want a guitar pedal, you will be entered into a drawing where you will receive you will have the chance to win a handmade guitar effects pedal from Linus Torvalds. And he pronounces shredding. Yes. Plenty of aeonfx.com is the website where he's been buying the kits. And they're kind of fun to put together. You know, I've never put together a pedal, but I'm familiar, I'm sure a lot of you in the audience, with buying, you know, PCB kits, like build your own. And like, you know, it's fun making something with your hands. And I totally get that. Now, he said he's going to pick one person at random, send it out. He's going to put doesn't he have like a little bit of a warning though, Jill, about his abilities to solder?
He says, he's going to build it with his own shaky little fingers and send it to the victim by U.S. Postal Services. I thought that was so funny. And I really like, he also states, I am a software person with a soldering iron. I will test the result to the best of my abilities, and the end result might actually work. But you should set your expectations along the lines of quality kit built by a SW or software person who doesn't know one end of a guitar from the other.
That's one of the things, man. You got to be fearful of that. But he points it out, and I love to see it because, like, he's practicing. He's having a good time with it, and
he is.
Yeah, he does make it a point to say that he will take the finished product in whatever state, you know, he's going to make it work. If it's going to work when it gets there, he's like, and I'll put it in a box with your address on it, and I'll hand that to somebody, and it's completely out of my hands whether or not it shows up. But
yeah.
yeah.
Aw, we love our father of Linux, Linus Torvalds.
Get
He's
your,
amazing.
yeah, like kernel commit, get it, because that's a very unique collector's item.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I've got my distortion pedal or wah wah. I wonder if what he's going to send, man. I look forward to whoever wins that.
Yeah.
I do. Also, I'm looking forward to kernel 6.13.
Dot 13.
For single board computers, man.
Yeah.
Which is something we need to talk about, because what I held up earlier, this Orange Pi is not the only 16 gig single board computer on the market.
Absolutely, Ven. Well, this is something me and Ven have talked about here on LWDW over the years, and now it is here, a 16 gigabyte of RAM version of the Raspberry Pi. Yes, we already had a Raspberry Pi 5 in 2 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte, and 8 gigabyte variants, but now we have the Raspberry Pi 5 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. That makes me happy. That will just make it easier to run large language models, computational fluid dynamics, TensorFlow, and, other software that requires more RAM for DIY projects. Not to mention distributions like Ubuntu that have heavier desktops will benefit greatly from more memory. And guess what the price is going to be?
$500.
No, in true Raspberry Pi tradition, extremely affordable, as Ven is going to tell you about.
You're going to ask me?
Yes, I'm going to let you.
Jill's like, Ven, you give him the bad news. I'm like, oh, man. Well, it's not going to be $80. Like, if you do a little fractal multiplication here, you end up with $120 or about 115 quid.
Nice.
Sterling. So that puts this in, if you look at like the Pi 5 pricing, which a lot of people said was a little bit high, this is not like a big jump. You can look at this and like logically say, all right, slapping on another 8 gigs would make that about that price. The thing is, though, I'm not the first to bring this up, and I'm not going to be the last, because it is reality. It's a lot cheaper than this thing that I was just talking about, this 16 gig thing. Now, it does have NVMe and a couple other niceties. This thing's almost $200 in a case with all that. So this is kind of a value, but it does, at $120, put the Raspberry Pi 5 in contention with like that Elite Desk that I did a video for on interfacing Linux.
Yeah.
Or those little N100 PCs, the $80 N100 from Razda, which...
Yeah, Razda.
Yeah, or all those little B-Link PCs that you see on Amazon, which are x86, so it puts it in the same price bracket. Now, that's not good. That's not bad. It's just where it's at. So when people are making that decision, they're like, do I want to go x86 or do I want to go with a Raspberry Pi? Because something you need to keep in mind is putting an extra 8 gigs of memory RAM on it doesn't necessarily make it any faster. It's still basically a Raspberry Pi 5. So what you got to think about is, do you have a use case for a 16 gig model? Go watch Jeff Geerling did a good video covering the 16 gig. Go check it out, and he does some benchmarks. And like, it is, I'm going to say technically outside the margin of error performance improvements, but we're talking like 1%, right?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. But if you got something like website database and you're like, I'm already using a Raspberry Pi 5 and I'm running out of memory, you have a solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. My like even MySQL or like I was saying earlier, the LLMs or the TensorFlow, that should run so much better. I mean, I remember testing a TensorFlow on a Raspberry Pi 3, with only 2 gigs of RAM.
It is silly. Like, this is by far this Orange Pi that I'm using it as an example just because it's right here on the desk, and I have no idea what to do with 16 gigs of RAM. Like, even on the desktop, we're only using like 2 or 3. So, I guess it's going to be like AI language models and stuff like that, which I'm going to have to like look into, I guess. I don't know. Tops That's what the internet tells me I need to benchmark is tops. So I'm thinking instead of learning about all the AI stuff, I'm just going to go buy a bunch of spinny tops and see how many I can put on the case.
There you go.
And that's how many tops it gets. All right. That's going to do it for this week. Thanks for showing up. You can watch us live. We do it on Twitch. In front, no safety net. Twitch.tv/Linux Gamecast. There'll probably be a link somewhere on the YouTube video in or around that section, but you could probably find it by yourself. And if you want to head over and get the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, we got a new YouTube channel.
Yes, we do. Yay.
That's right. At LWDW. And that's where the videos are going to be. This is listen, I know this is 99% audio, but the video thing is going to be on the new channel, and that's doing good. So I'm happy to see that and everybody subscribing over there. And of course, if you want to come hang out in our Discord, you want the live and uncut version of this show, like what we do, you can't make the live show, but you want it in a podcast format, or you just want a video that you can watch on your schedule, you can become one of our patrons by heading over to patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. Once you do that, sync it up with our Discord. Come say hi. Come play some Trackmania with us. Jordan's got stuff going on Thursdays. And you're always welcome to ask some questions and just to get into the ruckus that is our general disarray. There we go. I think we got everything covered. So I want you to have a great rest of your week. And everyone wish Jill the best of luck putting the other little monitor under the big one.
Yeah, my other 49-inch. I've got two of them.
When she's not busy having a battle royale with her two new penguins.
Penguins, yes.
All right, time for some credits.
Hey, we have lots of beautiful patrons to thank, including our advisor, our Theron, our executive producers, Drummer 7, the Targos, Barbrant, Scott, Atomic, our Chicago Kicks people, Level, Glorious Egg Roll, Basil, Empty Casiclism, our Sea Monsters, System T, Baratanuda, DeCresney, our Death Notes, Oil of Hope, Tara, our Chairlings, Douglas, Tomless, Martin, Rohit.
And
I just named
Tomless?
a few of them.
You've been saying
Thomas.
Tomless. Not to be confused with Tom Full. Tomless.
One of these days, I'll probably have named everyone on that list, and I think I have over the years. So I try and read from a different segment of it.
All right, everybody, go grab your stomp boxes, and we'll go hang out at Linus's house.
Yeah, get a Linus wah-wah pedal. Is it crying, Vin?
I got a crybaby.
Yeah.
I do.